The return of some classic foes, with links back to not only TNG but Voyager episodes, with some universe-swapping fun. Hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Fanatics. Well, today we're talking about episodes 13 and 14 of Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, which is entitled A Tribble Called Quest and Cracked Mirror. These episodes see a mission to a planet to retrieve some minerals to restart the protocore, as well as a journey back to Voyager by way of the Mirror Universe. We had some cool cameos and an exciting couple of episodes. Episode 13 starts off with Rock doing a log, just reminding us that the protocore is needed to get the protostar back to where the Voyager is. And they need a mineral called bosenite, which is what's needed to restart the protocore. They head down to a planet to recover some of these minerals, but they find a bit of a wasteland where the planet has been pretty much stripped bare, and there is a somewhat sizable tribble infestation going on. I was kind of surprised at the start of this episode to see Chakotay still wearing his ratty old Starfleet top with rips and holes in it and everything. They've got warp drive capable and the ship's got power. They don't have the protocore active, but you'd think he could have taken 20 seconds to replicate a new uniform, whereas he's still wearing the same stinky, smelly, ripped, torn one that he's been wearing on that planet Maroon for the last 10 years, which kind of seemed a little odd. The tribbles on this planet are a little bit more hostile than tribbles generally are. Rock gets bit by one of them, and it also seems like their size and scaling is a lot bigger than we're used to as well, with gigantic boulder-sized tribbles rolling into these guys, taking over, and they have to run away in a hurry. They'll have to jump over a cliff. Murph saves everybody, including Dahl, who flies off the cliff at the last section, but unfortunately Zero takes a bit of a hit by one of the larger boulder-sized tribbles and is knocked to the ground and cops a bit of an injury. Next we meet this Klingon who has been on the planet for a while. Obviously the Klingons have got a bit of a blood feud with tribbles. They can't stand them. Going back to that very first episode of original series where we basically got to know that tribbles hate Klingons. And this particular Klingon has been tasked with the duty of coming up with some sort of extermination plan for all tribbles. And he's a sort of a bit of a Klingon scientist, which there aren't too many of. And in his endeavours to wipe out all tribbles with extreme prejudice, he's managed to get a few little things wrong here and there, and he's managed to genetically engineer these gigantic boulder-sized ones, and not quite as they're meant to be, which seems to be a common thread in tribbles. Going back to that Short Trek episode, people trying to genetically modify tribbles seems to be a recurring theme, and it never seems to go well. The Klingons' research hasn't gone excessively well, but no fear, Rock, the science whiz, has got a few answers to fill in the gaps to his various different equations or experiments that should get things going in the right direction. The bosenite that they need is actually in a part of the planet that is essentially where the tribble's nest is. So this is going to be difficult to get the relevant quantities of minerals that they need without getting eaten by the tribbles. During her experiments, Rock has a couple of sneezes into some Petri dishes, which seems to manage to spawn a weird Bricker/tribble hybrid creature, which Rock isn't too happy about because it was all a bit of an accident, but it's a cute little thing, and it seems like we have maybe a new cute mascot for the crew in this form of this new kind of Bricker-tribble hybrid, or as they name it, Bribble, which was the original title of the episode. It was originally called A Tribble Named Bribble, but then the episode title got changed to A Tribble Named Quest. Well, the Tribble's not called Quest, but I think it's in reference to a 80s and 90s hip-hop band called A Tribe Called Quest. So I guess it's a spin on that title. Back on the ship, we get a bit of a medical diagnosis from Zero's injury, and it seems like they've taken a little bit excessive damage, needing a walking stick now. It seems like the body that they were given on the planet with the other non-corporeal life forms is kind of starting to wear out already. It's starting to break down, and we knew that this was inevitable at some point. It just depends how long it actually lasts, but it's a fairly fragile form from the looks of it. We get a nice scene on the roof of the Klingon bird of prey there with Majel and Gwyn talking. On the hull there, Gwyn looking at the planet, how it's been completely decimated by the tribbles, and sort of reminds her of how Solum was completely decimated or whatever because of the Civil War. And she's sad that, are they going to be able to fix things? And Majel also laments her purpose in life now. She thought she was on a very clear, logical path, but now that she's kind of now wrapped up in the the kids from the Protostar. Her career and her future and everything is sort of all a bit up in the air. She doesn't quite know what her place is. They lay down the transport enhancers in the cave to surround the Bosonite that they need there to restart the protocore. Try to distract the Tribbles by laying down some grain for them to eat, which is what they were eating back in that original series episode that had them take over the Enterprise. They were devouring the grain that was being held in the Enterprise's storage holds. They managed to beam the Bosonite onto the Protostar, into the protocore, but Dal and Gwyn are attacked by Tribbles and need saving by the rest of the crew there from these giant boulder-sized Tribbles. But it's a good thing that Rock spawned this hybrid Bricka Tribble mascot thing that she's now made, because it's able to communicate with the rest of the Tribbles and tells them to back down. When they defeat all the Tribbles, I noticed the Klingon starts to sing a Klingon song there. I've heard this song before, this sort of Jar Jar KO song that the Klingon, this victorious song or whatever that the Klingon sings, which we saw in the TNG episode Birthright Part 2.
Ya Jar KO, Ya Jar KO.
Which was a nice hark back to that. All the Tribbles are restored back to normal by the Klingon scientist. He gets to go home and report his findings to General Martok, who he was doing this all in service of. And the protocore gets jump-started and the crew is able to resume their journey back to Voyager. In episode 14, Cracked Mirror, we get the ship at Proto-Warp. Rock's pet, Brittle, is still on board. This obviously seems like is going to be a new little mascot for the crew. And they arrive at Voyager. Chakotay's in a brand new uniform and he's shaved. I would have thought this might have happened a little earlier, but things were very busy and he didn't get a chance to do this. And as they beam onto Voyager, something goes a little bit astray because they end up jumping between parallel universes in a universe where Jellicoe is the commanding officer of Voyager, Janeway is dead, Tysus and Noam are all dead. They were the ones that took the Infinity and things went wrong. And they soon realise that they're on the wrong Voyager in this alternate parallel universe. After taking the turbo lift, which traverses other parallel universes, the guys end up in sickbay, which has been completely trashed. The Voyager is being stripped of parts and everything and scavenged by none other than Thaddeus O'Connor. Billy Campbell reprises his role once again in this role back from the first season. Obviously he guest starred as his character that appeared in season 1 of Next Generation, and he's back again for this episode. Meanwhile, Rock and Zero end up in a completely different universe. They're on a ship that is captained by Captain Tuvix. Obviously the transporter accident between Neelix and Tuvok that went wrong. Tuvix is the captain in this reality, and the ship is completely manned by these Enterprisians from season 1. Starfleet wannabes, where they all kind of did the Vulcan salute. I think they did the Vulcan salute like that. It was all a bit not quite right because they'd got things a bit wrong. The uniforms were a bit dodgy as well, but they were trying to adopt the philosophies of Starfleet, but things were just a little bit not quite right. So it seems like we've got about 3 or 4 different realities going on board Voyager at this particular moment in time, split between parallel universes, where there's this crack going through the middle of Voyager, reflecting these different realities. They work out they have to get to the bridge, and in doing so, end up crossing into the Mirror Universe, where the Terran Empire versions of Janeway and Chakotay are obviously in command. The Terran Empire is always fun. There have been so many Star Trek episodes that have featured the Terran Empire in them, where they've crossed over between universes, and it's good to see Chakotay rocking the goatee, and even Murph gets into the spirit of the goatee as well. I think there's always a character with a goatee in the Mirror Universe, the evil version of their Prime Universe selves. And they even threaten the kids with using them in the Agonizer, which was featured in a few of the Mirror Universe episodes. I'm pretty sure we definitely had one in Enterprise which featured the Agonizer. I think it was also in the original series Mirror Mirror as well. Interesting to note that Janeway in this reality has a Borg implant, very similar as Seven of Nine's ocular implant. So obviously she's undergone some Borg modifications at some point. And after Murph overpowers Chakotay, the evil Chakotay, they try to get to the bridge, but are thwarted by the evil whale. Even Cetacean Ops aquatic life is evil in the Mirror Universe. They manage to briefly trap the Terran crew there, but it doesn't take them long to escape. They get onto the bridge, but work out the Loom are trying to break through this crack that they've made throughout the different universes, and the Loom start coming through to attack the Voyager. An uneasy truce is made just so they can get through this attack from the Loom, with Mira Janeway phasering the Loom creatures off the hull of the ship. Being the only one with a temporal armband, Gwyn is the only one that can save the day when the Loom slow down time to start devouring everybody. She's able to fend them off and get back to their original Prime universe at the end of this episode, where we finally have the reuniting of Janeway and Chakotay. This has been a long time coming. Obviously, this has been, in the works since the beginning of the first season of the show. Janeway and Chakotay have been separated by all the events that have played out here, and it was a lovely scene to see these guys finally come together again on board the Voyager. And it's really kind of feeling like with this season now of Prodigy is kind of a bit of a Voyager 2.0, seeing as how we've got Janeway and Chakotay and the holographic Doctor and everything on board the ship. There's definitely, it feels like a spiritual sequel to Voyager more than anything. So it'll be interesting to see where the season progresses after this point, because obviously now that Janeway and Chakotay are reunited, that was obviously the thing which we were trying to achieve since the start of the season, and now I'm guessing that the mission is going to skew more to the whole saving of Solum and making sure that the Civil War doesn't happen there, and restoring Gwyn to a whole state so she doesn't need the temporal armband anymore. So I'm guessing the next mission is going to have to put the Protostar back on Tars Lamora so that it can be found. And then I guess it's a matter of doing first contact with the Val Nakot in the right way. These were a fun couple of episodes. I thought the Tribble one kind of felt maybe a tiny bit like a filler episode. It sort of didn't overly advance the story. Obviously, they had to get the Protocore back and working again, but they could have somehow, I suppose, written that into the events that happened on the previous planet or whatever. But we did get this new brittle mascot, I suppose, out of the whole endeavour. And it's always fun to visit the Mirror Universe as well with the events in episode 14, Cracked Mirror. Having a few cameo references and so forth pop back into the show in the form of Jellicoe, Thaddeus O'Connor, references to Tuvix. As I said, the Mirror Universe is always a bit of fun. And always warrants a bit of sizable cheesy overacting, I think, and a bit of moustache twirling and maniacal laughter involved. So they were a fun couple of episodes. But what did you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and we'll get chatting about that. If you haven't subscribed to Sci Fanatics yet, please be sure to do so. Click on that big subscribe button to stay current and up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. And be sure to check out all my merch in the merch store. Plenty of cool t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and caps and everything there to check out with Star Trek and sci-fi themed designs, which really helps support the channel and is a bargain. I'll be back very soon with my next episode review. I'll catch you guys then.